So, married people. Okay. All right, guys. Here's the thing. And I it took me a long time to learn this lesson, and I hope that I can save you a lot of misery and a lot of making life miserable for your spouse as well. And that's this. When you have to be the hero, it makes them the villain. Now, you're going to say, what are you talking about? Well, unless you've been married for any period of time, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Here's the thing. Let's say your kid is crying and crying and crying, and your spouse is dealing with it, and they're trying to, they're trying to work with the kid, they're trying to help the kid calm down and stuff, and then you go in and you resolve the issue super quick, and you're like, look what I did, I fixed it for you. Well, you may mean that as a help, but you have to be careful with how you give help, especially if it wasn't asked for. And the reason for that is because they're gonna say this: I can't ever do that. I'm such a bad father, mother, whatever. And they're going to start getting very irritated. Maybe they're going to get mad at you for it. Maybe they're going to say, why do I even try? You're so good with the kids. Why don't you take care of it? See what I mean? And in marriage, you really have to be on the same page, right? Like, you don't badmouth your spouse to the kids. You don't argue with your spouse in front of others. You don't or especially in front of the kids, when you're out with the guys or the ladies, you don't talk bad about your spouse. You have each other's back. That's how you operate. That's how a marriage is forged, is in that unity. Okay, you have unity of purpose, unity of whatever. So when you're trying to always be the hero, either as a, hey, look at me, I'm better, I achieved, you need to pay attention to me, or if you mean it as a way of encouraging, hey, look, I'm here to help you, babe. Whatever. Whenever you try and always be the hero yourself, it makes them the villain. It's something. That's the result of what happens. You can't change that. What you're going to establish to your spouse is, I can resolve this situation that you were unable to do by maybe interfering. Maybe they're dealing with something and you just kind of interfere and take the lead. Maybe they are doing a good job. It's just that they're not doing it the way that you want it, or as quickly as you want. So, well, it has to be done my way because my way is the right way. You need to be harder on the kids. You need to not be so hard on the kids. Do you know what I mean? Where you think that your way is always right. It always leads to divorce. We get married with these rebellious, stubborn attitudes, and then we refuse to bend for our spouse, and and then what happens? Divorce. It almost always happens. Then we turn more bitter, and then we think, the next one, I'll find my happiness in the next one. But the more divorces you have, the less likely you are to actually have a successful marriage, which tells me that bitterness is the problem, not the person. People, by their nature, are incompatible. You will never marry you, and that's a good thing, because although it's irritating when they don't do it your way, it would be even more irritating to argue with yourself. Okay, we live by my parents, and me and my mom do a lot of the same things, and it's super frustrating when I'm trying to do it with my kids and my mom interferes. You know what I mean? If she was someone else, she wasn't my mom, it would still be frustrating because we agree on so many things. It's just kind of like, oh, you're not the mom, back off, and it's just something. If you're married, you know what I'm talking about. There's always trouble with the in-laws, so you're not alone in that. Yeah, but so what happens when you interfere with something that your spouse is doing is it destroys their confidence, and it makes them think that they're not competent, that you don't have trust in them, you don't have faith in them, and it makes the kids also think that they are incompetent. See, sometimes kids will listen to the father more just because he's the father. Sometimes they'll listen to him more because he's not around as much. Sometimes they'll listen more because of how he treats the mom. In other words, dad disrespects mom, so I don't have to respect mom. So only one I need to listen to is dad. You kind of get what I'm saying? I hope you're picking up what I'm putting down here. It's one of those things where when you have to be the hero, either because you're insecure or because you're trying to help or whatever, it makes them the villain. And so a better way to approach this might be trying to get on the same page before. Only stepping in if they ask for your help. Talking beforehand and setting expectations of, hey, if you need my help, what can I do? Let me know. Have a secret word, have something like that, or have it where you can have a strong enough marriage where you guys can walk out of the room and discuss, and then come back out, and whoever had the lead can continue to have the lead. There's a fine line between supporting somebody and undermining them. And it's not good enough to just both of you want a good outcome. Your outcomes will always be a little bit different. Maybe one of you just wants there to be peace in the house. Maybe one of you wants, peace, but more character development. See what I mean? And so you kind of have to get with each other and kind of be willing to have that openness and honesty. And marriage is a lot about communication and being willing to have those hard conversations. If you try to ignore those hard conversations, it makes it worse. And so what people do is they get into these power struggles instead. You can't treat me like that. Well, you're not getting any sex. And, all these things that really aren't necessary, it's not really helpful. And the kids pick up on these things. When there's not very good cohesion, when there's a lot of, butting heads in a marriage, the kids are going to pick up on that. And they're probably going to defer to the dominant one. You see a lot of times when people get divorced, they try and suck their kids into their marital conflict, and it's just disaster. It really upsets the kids, shakes up their idea of security and their idea of truth and morals and all kinds of different stuff. It's the same kind of thing. It all affects each other. It's all interwebbed and interwoven. And when you are married, you really need to make sure that you are only supporting, not interfering. Well, I'm the father too. Well, I'm the mother too. I get that. But they are your equal. They are your spouse. They're your partner. You have to be behind each other. And even if they do something wrong, you still have to do what's right. Why? Because that's what partners do. That's the whole focus. So when you're dealing with this, another thing you can do is you can make them the hero. And if you make them the hero, it'll make you both heroes. Okay, wow, look at what mom did. Look at what your dad did. Wow. And so what happens is, although you're not the direct active one getting the recognition, they're going to see how well you're building up your spouse, and it'll make you a hero for how you're treating them. They'll learn more grace. They'll learn mutual respect, that kind of stuff. So, wow, look at what your mom did. Look what your dad did. Rather than, I can fix this. I can, or maybe even talking to your spouse and saying, look, you got this. You're doing a great job. When's the last time you've gone to your wife and said, look, you're doing such a great job with the kids. Yeah, I appreciate all the stuff that you do around the house to help me. And I really hope that I'm doing stuff around the house to help you. And stuff like that. Build each other up, because when your kids move out of the house, it's just going to be the two of you. That communication has to exist. Past good sex, past going and doing stuff together, there has to be communication and growth of the relationship there. And so remember, when you have to be the hero, you make them the villain. But if you can make them the hero, it'll make you the hero too. And find a way to help support, to encourage, to not interfere. To work together towards the goal. And maybe you never saw that happen. It's gonna take some practice then. But thankfully, you can communicate with your partner about what you're struggling with, and you can learn this. You can beat this. So, check you later.